Hello, this is David Knapp. I am recording for Sprint 1 of the Game Engine class. So, for this sprint, I created some managers for the models, shaders, and textures. So, I will go over those very quickly. They are essentially the same. They are extremely similar. Obviously, I have the big four. With the destructor calling something called delete map, which I am using a unordered map to store all of my information. It takes a string, which is the ID, and then a pointer object for whatever for one of the three types. Other things that I have is so the other components that I add is obviously the load from file, so that will allow it to, this is where you give it a key name, and you give it a file name, it will find it, and it will add it to the unordered map. There's load shaders, which is a general function call, which I put all three of them in their own external resource CPP for ease of access. There is an unload shader, so if you need to get rid of an individual shader, you can enter that and it'll drop that individual shader. And then there's the delete map, which wipes the whole map and is only called at the destructor. Then for retrieval, I have two different retrievals. So this here you'll see is pointer status. That's because I made an enum class, which is generic and included in everything, and it's just quick checks to make sure, that my pointers are all good and everything is working functionally, working properly. So into the actual CPP, I assert that the thing has been made, and then I assert that it has been added. There was actually an error problem that I ran into earlier where I had swapped in the load external resources, I had swapped the loading for models and textures, and that screwed me up, understandably. Anyways, unload shader creates a shader, or gets the shader temp, and then it uses the alternative method of get shader, which I might just get rid of, honestly. The alternative method is essentially extra protection, which isn't really necessary because the asserts should be taking care of that anyways, so I'll probably remove that. So it simply deletes it, nulls out the pointer, and then erases. And then erases the ID from the map. Delete map cycles through the map and deletes everything in it. I will be showing that off during the destructor. And in fact, just to especially demonstrate it, I will leave the thing here now. Then there is the other retrieval, which is simply returns it where it checks for its ID. Move on over to the game CPP so you can see I haven't turned that into a singleton yet. Also, I haven't turned any of these managers into singletons simply because I wanted to leave it open-ended. If the person wanted to load and unload textures, files, and models for, like, say, a different scene, like, you're not just bulk loading everything at once. You are instead loading everything as it is needed, which would save space, which I assume would save space. So in the load content, it simply tells it to load all the textures and shaders and models. And then here it's creating the different objects that it was creating before, and down here I delete the things, which causes their destructors to go off, which causes the destructor to clean up after itself. So I will oh, and also here's the file. Very simple, clearly labeled. Load the files, load the shaders, load the textures. Not going to lie, I took the commented bits from the original code. And they're separated into 3 categories for, well, a multitude of reasons. One of which is I actually do think that this is easier to read and would give a person who isn't familiar with code a more easy understanding of this is where you put the models, this is where you put the textures, this is where you put the shaders. Like very, very resolute. Whereas with the other one, whereas with the engine we used in the Teal engine, the full Teal engine, we had to, parse that out for ourselves. Anyways, kicking off. This will be a very simple thing. So, as you can see, it reached the loading shaders, which is actually the last one. So it simply goes through here, break into that, pass that, break back in. And here we can see, creates a new one with the file name. Got it right. Assertion that it got it right. Adds it. Asserts that it got it right again. Tells you that you got it right, because it would have crashed by the point if it hadn't gotten past this part. Go on through. Now we're here. Goes through, is able to fetch the models, shaders, and textures. And going all the way, I'll just hit continue at this point. So, as you can see, it started back up. Everything still works, nothing's broken, light's working, texture's working, models are obviously there. Now when I hit escape, you can see that we find ourselves in the Shader Manager delete map, which comes from the Shader Manager's destructor. So, simply looping through that, and then it clears it at the end. And it has completed that, and now it's just going to do its own thing, call the other destructors, and that's the end of that. So that's all I have for this week. Actually, this went a little long. Sorry for that. Don't feel bad. I understand why you play it at 2 times speed. Have a good night.